It's entertainment designed to keep the masses happy, as the masses are robbed of God-given rights and freedoms. That's why the NFL refuses to defend itself from allegations of racism. The NFL is a willing participant in the overthrow of American values.
Tom Brady's latest comments have set off a huge storm, dragging the ugly side of the NFL right back into the spotlight. His remarks about black quarterbacks have ripped open old wounds, forcing people to face a controversy many wanted to forget. Now the debate over racism in the league is louder than ever, with fans asking why this problem never seems to go away. And if Tom Brady, a legendary player with everything to lose, is bold enough to say this, then what does it reveal about the billionaire owners pulling the strings? Could their behavior be even worse? These are the questions people can't afford to ignore anymore.
We didn't have to file a lawsuit for the world to know that there's a problem from a hiring standpoint in regards to minority coaches in the National Football League. The numbers speak for themselves.
Right.
Interview. Right? The NFL has faced heavy criticism for years over its racial problems, whether it's about the unfair treatment of black coaches or how black players are judged on the field. The league keeps trying to defend itself, saying they're taking steps to stay in the spotlight and keep their stock prices high, but most of those moves look fake and pointless. Just look at last year's Super Bowl, where they went out of their way to erase any mention of racism from the touchdown line. The message was loud and clear: money and image mattered more than justice. And when you realize that powerful figures like Donald Trump and the league's biggest investors were all watching, it's impossible not to think the NFL missed a perfect chance to take a real stand. But instead, they chose silence.
The reports this week, the NFL is going to remove the words "end racism" from the end zone during the Super Bowl this Sunday. And I know that sounds so shocking that you think it can't be real, but it is.
Interview. Reports claim the Trump administration may have pushed the NFL to drop that message, which raises a tough question. What does the sport and its brand really stand for if it's willing to cave in to outside pressure that ignores the bigger issues? Bill Maher pointed out that even though the move was tied to the administration, the real power behind it came from the NFL owners themselves, who were desperate for the change. The shocking part is that Maher actually supported the move, but his take was quickly destroyed by a black player who called out the hidden racism in his words and exposed what was really going on.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
Interview. As the controversy heated up, players started speaking out about the racism inside the league. When asked if it exists in the locker rooms, they didn't sugarcoat it. They admitted racism is everywhere in those spaces. One NFL player even said that while many treat the locker room as some sacred brotherhood, the ugly truth is that behind closed doors it's often filled with racist attitudes. The worst part is, players who suffer from this racism feel trapped and powerless because speaking out could destroy their careers. It's a brutal catch-22. Either stay silent and keep playing, or speak up and get buried by the media's twisted narrative that will ruin their reputation and silence their truth.
Is it racism inside of the locker room?
The one sacred place that you think you have is the locker room. There's a lot of things that go on inside that, you know, the outside world isn't privy to. A lot of conversations, but does racism exist in the locker room?
For the sake of their careers, many black players feel forced to deny that racism exists in the NFL. Some even go as far as saying the NFL is the least racist institution in America. And this isn't just talk. There's a real example with Cam Ward, the first overall draft pick. He openly said that every kid grows up dreaming of the NFL, no matter how tough the journey is. Racism or not, it's still seen as the ultimate prize. Ward's comments show the painful truth. For most players, the dream of playing in the league outweighs the cost of challenging the system. But sometimes, racism crushes careers, like what happened to Shedeur Sanders. Once projected as a top pick, maybe even first or second overall, he shockingly dropped to the 5th round, and now he's just fighting to survive in the NFL. The crazy part is, he did nothing wrong. His mistake was being a black quarterback who refused to hide his confidence and flashy style. For some people, that confidence became a problem, proving how black players often get judged for who they are instead of what they can do. Even Cam Ward called it out, saying the NFL was creating a false narrative against Shedeur, just like they once did with him. Ward pointed out how the league and its media keep building negative stories around players who don't fit their mold, especially when they challenge the system. He made it clear that Shedeur, like himself, was being unfairly portrayed, with the media twisting his image and dismissing his talent just because of his identity and style as a black quarterback.
quarterback coach when we first got to college. Then he's always been, just a great person to be around. A lot of stuff out there on him ain't really, the truth. Just because they spin it different ways, like they spin stuff about me different ways. But I mean, I've always thought he was a productive.
Now, Tom Brady's stance on black quarterbacks who show personality makes it obvious that racism is still a major issue in the NFL. He tried to spin his comments by saying celebrations should be about the team, but when he talked about self-branding and individualism, he revealed something much darker. His criticism showed a clear bias, exposing his lack of respect for players who want to showcase their identities and build their own brand, especially when those players are black. It's becoming clear that his words reflect a deeper problem across the entire league. In reality, the NFL is once again being exposed for its deep-rooted racism, as recent events highlight the systemic barriers black players continue to face. The comments made by Tom Brady, combined with the struggles of players like Shedeur Sanders, prove that despite the NFL's polished image of progress and inclusion, the truth tells a different story. For years, the narrative around black quarterbacks has been manipulated, with players like Cam Ward and Sanders paying the price simply for being confident and unapologetically themselves. The NFL's desperate attempts to hide racism, from scrubbing references at the Super Bowl to pressuring black players to deny what they go through, are all being dragged into the open. Instead of protecting their brand, these moves have backfired, exposing the hypocrisy at the core of the league. The NFL can parade its so-called diversity programs all at once, but the repeated patterns of discrimination are impossible to deny. Now, the voices